Apologize for the technical difficulties. I call the Tuesday, April 12th meeting of the St. John's County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll note for the record that Commissioner Fleming and I are in the room and Commissioner Dieter is joining us remotely. First item on the agenda is opening reading of bids. There are none. Moving on to reports and requests. First is the accounts payable docket. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye. Next, we have issuance of hospital revenue bonds, Series 2022 by the Hospital Authority of St. Joseph County. Send up.
Thank you, Commissioner Castelny, Board of Commissioners. Phil Facenda from Barnes and Thornburg, located on Main Street, right across the street. Gosh, I have to change my routine of announcing my address for the first time in ages. Thank you very much for allowing us to be on the agenda today. What we have before you is a resolution in the form of an excerpt of minutes, which we have done in the past with regard to hospital authority bond issuances. The Beacon Health System is requesting of the county commissioners this morning an approval of a bond issue that was approved on March 31st by the Hospital Authority of St. Joseph County, the body for which you're responsible for making appointments, and under the statute, you need to approve their action, even though they are the issuer. And those who've been on the commission for a little while will recall these prior financings that have come through the county commissioners in the past, Beacon financings particularly. Some detail on this financing. The borrowing is in an amount not to exceed $150 million. The projects include a new 10-story patient care tower. All of the improvements will be made at Memorial Hospital here in South Bend. And the 10-story new patient tower will be, there will be 7 new patient floors that will come from that. There will be some renovation and expansion of the intensive care unit, which will increase the capacity for the intensive care unit. There will be increased capacity for medical and surgical facilities, and the increase in beds will be over 50 beds for the intensive care. There will be mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrades that will go along with this, so the non-sexy portion of the project, but absolutely necessary. And then there will be some demolition that will go along with this. With the new tower, some of the existing structure will have to come down. And there will be relocation of inpatient pharmacy and some renovation of the facility for greater efficiency and adaptable space. The terms of the financing, as I mentioned, is $150 million. The hospital, the Beacon, was able to lock a rate of 2.17%, which I'm sure that given the current environment, they're very pleased that they did. The lender will be JP Morgan, and this is the last public step that happens as part of this financing, and Beacon's hopeful to close on a bond issuance in mid to late May. I have with me this morning Harley McCoy, who is the CFO for Beacon, and he can answer any questions you might have about the facility or the finance.
Controller, he gave me a promotion there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no, I'm sorry.
I assume he's covering
Controller,
the
no.
salary.
In fact, please, Jeff Costello, the CFO, could not be here this morning, and so Harley, who has very good knowledge of the projects and the financing, is here to answer any questions you may have about that.
I guess one piece of clarification, we are a flow through from a county standpoint. So So there's no responsibility for debt repayment at all with the county.
Thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner Costello. Yes, you picked up one of my notes that I forgot to relay, which is, yes, this is completely, the hospital authority is the issuing entity, and Beacon, as a not-for-profit, to issue tax-exempt bonds needs to have those issued by a governmental unit. In this case, it would be the hospital authority with the approval of the county commissioners. There is no pledge of any taxing authority or any liability on the financing for the county or the hospital authority. It's completely on Beacon.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the issuance of the hospital revenue bonds.
Second.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen, once again for the great work that you do in our community. Any small part that the county can play in helping make that happen, we are glad to do so.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, approval of consulting agreement with R. Schultz.
Peter J. Augustino, attorney at law, 131 South Taylor Street, South Bend, Indiana. So this consulting agreement does a couple things. It's an agreement with departing executive director for PSAP, Ray Schultz, who left on February 28, 2022. Closes out some loose ends in terms of paying out deferred compensation, and also commits him to provide consulting services as requested by the county, both for litigation services and or operations. It's not an open-ended consulting agreement, meaning that whatever consulting services are done at our request and approval, county's request and approval. I would ask for your approval. I do have a signature page signed by Mr. Schultz via DocuSign, which I would ask you to sign this one so we can get his compensation put on the payroll.
Commissioner Dieter, as our representative on the PSAP Executive Board, any comments, or you just meet with your approval?
Yeah, I've got several comments. This was the issue that I worked with Mr. Augustino on. There was a lot of, in my view, a lot of things that after this is done needs to be tightened up with record keeping, the way we keep hours. There was a lot of things in the, I guess, the final agreement here of verbal things that were either promised or it was my understanding that was part of this whole deal, that as we move in the future, things need to be written down. We have to have documentation of hours. We need to have documentation of what comp time should or should not be counted in. We have to have written agreements if you're going to go work for a company that the county has a contract with. So again, yeah, I'm fine with this, but in the future, moving on, we certainly need to tighten up what we do as a county when it comes to, like I said, attendance, record keeping, and just the documentation for an employee regarding within the county. So yes, I'm, again, Pete and I worked a lot on this. I think we're in a good spot. And just for clarification, this is any work that has to be done legally on possible legal actions against the county. Pete and Ray will handle that, but anything else comes from either the interim director now or the director in the future, with permission from the commissioners that we would entertain any consultation with Mr. Schultz. So there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Dieter. Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion?
A motion to approve the consulting agreement with Ray Schultz.
Second.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Commissioner Dieter, for your work, along with Mr. Augustino. In the communication and conversation I've had with the executive board, I think this is an important safety net that we have for PSAP. Ray did a lot of great things as director, And I think it's important that he remain as a resource when needed. So I think this certainly helps the long-term success of our dispatch center. All right, moving on to old business. There is none. Public comments. Are there any public comments? We'll start with our friends in the room here.
Good morning. Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. You know, I remember not much impressed me from my school days a few years ago. But one thing that did was a training exercise on the importance of group discussion rather than individual one-on-one. It was about, you would start with 10 people and the first person would whisper into the second person's ear, here's how you wash the dog and do these steps. By the time it got around to the 10th person, that person would give you on how to shave a cat. Just the way the story would change as it went around the room. That is much what has gone on recently with the news of the commissioner stuff that's going on right now with Commissioner Fleming. I would encourage Commissioner Fleming to keep those life discussions between people you have known all your life. It is pretty much, it's evident here that some people in this building, in this area, have intentions other than what's best for you on their mind and are looking out for themselves. Talk to people when you make these important life decisions. Talk to them, just people you've known all your life, who you can trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any other comments from the room? Hearing none. Comments from our friends on Zoom? Seeing and hearing none. A motion to recess is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye. We are recessed. Have great days, everyone. Pete, you've got an original for us to sign, so I will not sign.